Well, everybody, I'm Cantonese Cat. Everybody, Cantonese Cat here. I got quite a few chart requests here from my YouTube members. I'm going to go through all of them as fast as I can before I have to do what I have to do. AMD. First of all, what you're really looking at here is the monthly chart, and I think that is finding a pretty decent doji candle here on the 0.678, right? This is the log fib, by the way. I think that it has corrected enough, really, over the last 12 months, where volume has just been going down and price has been going down together with it. And wherever this happens, I think generally some pretty good things are going to happen pretty soon, as long as you just have a little bit of volume just kind of kicking in. You might end up having like a bullish engulfing candle that can engulf multiple of these candles, and you just end up reversing trend. Same thing happened over here. We have 5 months of going downhill, and next thing you know, you just got a bullish engulfing candle where you got a little bit of volume pickup, and you end up having boom, 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 boom going up, right? This can happen at any time. I just don't know when that's going to be. It could go down a little bit further if it like, but I think this is probably a pretty good spot in terms of where it needs to be. How much further can it go if it goes down? Well, 0.5 is going to be where it's going to go down to around 90s at the top of the Ichimoku cloud over here. But again, it doesn't always have to do that. Sometimes you stop short of that at a very important fib level and just end up going up from here, right? So as far as I'm concerned, I don't think AMD necessarily has to go down. It does have a low bullish band that's already down here. Whenever it ends up breaking underneath the 20-month moving average, generally price does a little bit like to gravitate towards the low Bollinger Band, but it doesn't have to, right? Like the bear market from 2017, 2018, it looks like it was gonna get close to the Bollinger Band, but it didn't really quite touch it. So it doesn't always have to do that. I think this is enough. I still see a lot of buying pressure behind the scene. It doesn't mean the price is not going to go down, further, but I just see a lot of buying pressure behind the scene. If you look at unbalanced volume, you can see that price has been going down. But there is an imbalance here of volume where the OBV unbalanced volume is actually going up, right? So there's a little bit of a very, very fishy thing that's being built up here. I think there's a lot of buying pressure behind the scene here, but you just never know how much further market makers want to push things down. You just never know. Do I think that it's good risk-reward ratio here, right around close to 0.618? Heck yeah, I think it's a lot better than it was over here whenever it got rejected at 1.272. So as far as I'm concerned, I think it's okay. It is underneath a lot of resistance levels here, though. It's underneath a negative sloping support band. So even if it shoots all the way to the 0.786, you may end up getting resistance around 120s, 130s. And on top of that is way underneath the Ichimoku cloud over here, right? So you're going to end up having maybe a little bit more headwind trying to push up. But over here, it's a little bit of a different story because you basically are still on top of the cloud. Here you got underneath the cloud, so you might need to have a little bit more time to kind of repair the trend here. Here also seemed like it just kind of broke it underneath the brand support band here briefly, and it was flat, so it was easier for it to get over and go a lot higher. Here you have a very negative sloping 20-week moving average and the brand support band here. So there are a lot of things to consider here with AMD. I think the risk-reward ratio is pretty decent, but I think one does maybe have to be a little bit more patient with it. That's the story that I got on AMD. How high could it go? I think it would eventually, even after it's able to correct whatever it is that it needs to do right here, it's probably going to end up re-challenging the 1.272 here. And I think if it's able to push through all of this resistance, then I think higher targets are possible. But it may not be until maybe like 2026, 2027, somewhere around there. It probably needs some time to kind of correct, push up. If I'm wrong, if it happens to kind of break all these things here in a hurry, if it breaks 1.272, then higher targets we go, which is where we got rejected last time. So that's AMD. The other one that I was asked about was, let me see, Grab. Somebody asked about Grab. This is a very, very popular stock here. You can see how right off the bat, if I just do the monthly, this is a pretty bullish chart actually. We do the Bollinger Band here, you can see how it is expanding up to a low Bollinger Band here. The 20-month moving average is going up. This is a very nice bullish trend. Last time, similarly, just couldn't really push through up that much higher. The reason why is because the Bollinger Band is not expanded far enough yet. So we end up getting rejected from the Bollinger Band. But guess what? It came back down and back test the 0.136 over here. insofar you're developing a very nice bullish engulfing candle here for the month of February. I mean, you still have another week and a half of trading, so we'll see how that goes in terms of where it's going to close. But certainly looks like it wants to keep on challenging upper level and going along to continue to expand the Bollinger Band, and while expand the Bollinger Band is going to allow price to go higher over time, right? That's what it looks like. If you look at the higher time frame Ichimoku, you can also see that right now you also not just bounce on 0.136 FIB level, you also have bounce off of Tenkan as well, right? This is a very bullish setup. Backtest Kijun, push through, backtest Tenkan. Very bullish setup that I was seeing in terms of Palantir before it broke out, right? Very similar thing that I'm seeing with Coinbase right now, and also very similar thing that I saw with HIMS on the way up, right? So all these stepwise approach are very good for grab. Now, in terms of where price is going to go next, that's really anybody's guess, but I do see that I could challenge the 0.236 here over the upcoming months, maybe even the 0.382 here in the upcoming months. Those are going to be like the next targets to kind of look at here. Now, the Ichimoku cloud over here, you do have an immature Ichimoku cloud, which is the leading span A. That's around 6.4, 6.5, somewhere up here. So I do think that these levels around 5s and 6s are probably going to be some resistance level that has to push through, and you're going to need the Bollinger Band to continue to expand, allowing price to really push through that over time. So it may not happen until maybe second half 2026. That's kind of what I'm seeing. Unless the price just get really, really explosive, it can keep going up and just push through resistance one after another. But I just think that maybe going to take another quarter or two, or maybe even 3 to try and push about this level here. Meanwhile, the Bollinger Band is going to continue to expand. So it's a very nice bull trend. There's nothing really that particularly concerned about it. The other one that I was asked about is Celsius. Celsius has been a pretty vicious downtrend. To be honest with you, I'm still not convinced. Even if you have like these crazy +7 or 10 or even 20% bounces, I'm still not convinced that this is still something that is good to necessarily enter as an investment. I just am not necessarily convinced of that. The reason why is because it's still falling up. It's got how many months of downtrend here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, right? So that's a little bit dangerous. You can also see that this Gann arc over here has been kind of serving as pretty good resistance and support over time. And you can see how it's been respecting these Gann arcs over here. And there's a risk, since you have a big giant downtrend, there's a risk that it could potentially go even down to $15, where the lower Bollinger Band is continuing to expand to the downside. So there's not really any good like solid grounding for me to feel very confident that it is bottom. But there is one thing that is pointing to the fact that, hey, maybe we've bottom here, I don't know, which is the fact that I was eyeing this for a very long time. Whenever price dropped to around like the 40s, I really thought it was going to go all the way down to maybe like 20, which is what it's doing right now. It touched the lower part of the Ichimoku cloud over here, and as far as I'm concerned, I think it's pretty good solid grounding. But it's just such a vicious downtrend. I'm not seeing any bullish divergence on the monthly, right? I'm not seeing any bullish divergence on the monthly. It's just a downtrend. On the weekly here, I'm seeing some bullish divergence. So you're going to end up having a little bit of bounce, right? Price go down, RSI go up. But sometimes when you see weekly bullish divergence, it's not enough for trend to reverse. You can have a bounce here, and you're still going to end up having a lot of resistance here up above. You know, even if price bounce all the way to like 28, 29, I'd still be very worried about the trend. I probably would still not want to, get into this, because I feel like that might be a little bit of a dead cat bounce here, and you might end up just having to consolidate sideways here for a little bit longer minimally before price goes up. Just because you have weekly bullish divergence is not good enough for me usually. Because things can go down a lot further on bullish divergence on the weekly. I've seen that happening time and time again. So be a little bit careful when you're getting into a stock like this. I still think that it's developing a little bit more of a deceleration or a downtrend. That's great, but on a higher time frame, it's still a falling knife. So be a little bit careful. That's all. Anyway, I also have a couple other request here. One for ONON. Let's do this one. No. ONON. you can see that this is a pretty bullish chart overall. It's just been forming higher highs and higher lows. So even you have a downtrend over here, this is still a little bit of a higher low, so it doesn't really bother me that much. The only issue that does bother me is on a weekly. It does look a little bit exhaustive, right? You can see how as prices go up, you can see how the acceleration to the upside has really kind of gotten decelerated, and that can show up here in RSI, right? RSI go down, price going up, and this is a corrective move as far as I'm concerned, because I think now you're building up some hidden bullish divergence where price has gone up but RSI has gone down. So I think you're cooling off some of these RSI being overheated over here, which is not a bad thing. If you look at fib levels, well, first of all, it's actually bouncing around an important volume shelf, right? So it's not a bad thing. The other thing too, I do wonder, yeah, it could go potentially down even a little bit further to 0.86. I think that's entirely possible, which is going to be around $48.30. The other thing too, you can see how it's struggling to hold on to the Ichimoku support here, but this is a lot more telling here on the monthly. Whenever price get a little bit too far away from the Tenkan, it tends to gravitate back towards it, and I think that's exactly what it's doing. It's got a little bit too overextended, and it just wants to go back down and touch the Tenkan. It got really close to it, right? So can price go down a little bit further, even still touch the Tenkan a little bit more, actually like, you know, tagging it, or actually go down to 0.86. All these are entirely possible, but I think this volume shelf over here is kind of saving it right now. So we'll see, right? Bull Japan continues to look bullish, right? You have a little bit of contraction here because price kind of gone sideways for about 3-4 months, but this is still an uptrend. We don't have that impulsivity anymore that has been building up for the last year. I think things are kind of cooling down here a little bit, and when it cools down, it can cool down on declining volume a lot more, right? You can see how over the last 6 months it's also been going up on declining volume, so it probably just needs to kind of take a break here. Maybe 0.86, maybe a little bit lower still, or maybe just kind of go sideways here a little bit before further bullish continuation. But overall, it's a bull trend. Overall, I think it's just need to kind of tag here on the Tenkan here, so don't be surprised if we already kind of did that and price just kind of want to go up a lot higher from here on out. It's still a bull trend, but it's just getting a little bit tired, that's all. Looking at the a couple other requests here. Somebody requests Costco. Costco is a bullish chart. Is it overextended? A little bit, but it's tagging the Tenkan here along with it. So am I that concerned about the way that it looks right now? Let's look at the Bollinger Band. Now it's basically just kind of touching, tagging the upper Bollinger Band, and upper Bollinger continues to expand. So I think there's more room for price to go up even higher, as ridiculous as it sounds. The issue with Costco is that I can't really bet against this stock because it's just been going up on a bull trend for a very long time and it's accelerating to the upside. There's really like nothing I can technically bet against it. The only thing is, yeah, I mean, it's been going up on bearish divergence, but it can keep going on bearish divergence for a very long time, right? That doesn't really bother me. And you have price even on the short term here has been going on bearish divergence. So do I think that this is a little bit of a overextended top here? Maybe we're getting close, right? I'm not going to be able to get much like fib levels from this, but if you're looking at log fib levels, let's see here. If you're looking at log fib levels, we're getting closer to the 2.414, right? And maybe the cycle ends at 2.618. I don't know. It could very well be the case, and then you might end up having some consolidation over here for a while before further bullish continuation. I don't know. This thing is just absolutely ridiculous. But yeah, I do see a little bit of sign of getting a little bit more like a parabolic top because I did see some bearish divergence here. The other thing too, and it's going to be hard to draw again here. Let me close down the volume here. Whew, man, this thing just beast mode ever since the 1980s. I'm going to pause here. I'm going to draw again here real quick. Okay, got a GAN here for you, 720 and 50 here in log scale. Got some pretty decent market symmetry here. It's been riding up on the 45-degree angle here for a very long time, for like almost a decade and a half now. Looks like we decided to kind of depart the 45-degree angle, and looks like we want to go up a lot higher up to the arc up here. So that if that's the case, that means that we still have a lot of upside here for Costco before any like drastic correction or anything like that, unless if it decides to come back down at any time and tag the 45-degree angle here again, right? But overall, you can see how like this arc here is resistance. Once it went to the next arc, came back down, hugged the horizontal, broke through that, and went to the next arc, right? And it got rejected, broke through the arc, went to the next arc, got real resistance right there, broke through, went through the next arc, got real resistance over there. It was able to kind of back test it, hold the angle of support, and now it just looks like it wants to grab it up to the next arc over here. So maybe a little bit more room for Costco to go. I'm not going to bet against it. I'm not really that interested in getting into Costco just because it's just not my cup of tea. It just doesn't have that, beta for me, but I think it's a pretty bullish stock. Spotify has been absolutely insane. Spotify is actually, it's just like, I don't even know what to do about this. Let's do some fib retracement, right? I think the next level it wants to get to is probably 1.4 and 4. You might end up having some resistance here, and then 1.618 up here, right? So $800, 1,000 and 122, maybe somewhere around there. That's going to be the resistance levels to kind of pay attention to. But you have the Bollinger Band expansion here on the monthly. So this thing is still very, very much parabolic. This thing wants to maybe continue to even go up a lot higher. Maybe get up to some of these levels, maybe even higher before it pauses, right? If you look at the RSI, you can see that, hey, you have a little bit of a double top RSI here around 80. So maybe you're getting a little bit tired, but things can stay up here in the 80s and even 90s here for like a year or two, and then Spotify can continue to go up to some of these levels up here over the next coming months, right? So that's kind of my take on it. I'm not going to chase, because as it goes up, the risk level increases, right? There's no reason for me to want to chase something after it's been going up straight for about 2 years now. I'm just going to stay away from this, but if you're in it, I think there's a reasonable chance that it will continue just going up. So I think you can probably keep holding if you like. If you, let's see, another one that is a biotech stock I was asked about, CRSP. It doesn't look bad. I think it's trying to correct and do what it needs to do here. I think it's getting rejected here at 0.236 over here, around $55.80. That's an important level it needs to break above. Right now it's just a big consolidation. There's a big accumulation zone over here. It's trying to break above that accumulation zone. It's also getting rejected here at the Tenkan here on the monthly, right? So it probably needs to kind of break through a lot of these kind of resistance level here. Also the 20-month moving average is right there, right? I'm not making this up. So it probably needs to break through a lot of these kind of resistance and an important fib level. And if it's able to build enough energy, which I think it will, the reason why I think it will is because I think volume's coming back. I think this is also a morning star look to it. Down, sideways, up. This is a morning star formation. I think it's probably got enough juice to kind of push up to the 0.382 here around $72, or even to the upper Bollinger Band here around 75, 76. I think it's got enough energy to push up there over the next coming months. And then how it reacts after that, we'll see. This is a big giant accumulation zone. The rest of the biotech sector seems to be doing well. I think it's just probably a matter of time where this thing would end up breaking the 0.382 and go higher. But the entire time as it goes down over here, this whole thing right there was just to buck the trend, to turn the 20-month moving average from negative sloping to flat. And right now, it's unfortunately formed a little bit of lower low over here. So this is going to be a little bit of a laggard. But I do think right now it's building up enough technicals to want to maybe challenge the 0.32, maybe even upper Bollinger Band here. We'll see. That's what I kind of think about this. Somebody's commented bark. I wasn't sure if they're barking at me or they actually wanted to look at the stocks. I'm just going to look at it here real quick. This is a very nice stock where, I think this is wave 1 over here. I think it's doing wave 2. How low would wave 2 get? I don't know. But wave 1 basically just pushed price all the way up to about the upper Bollinger Band, got rejected here at 0.32, and right now it's cooling down, right? You can see this is cooling down. Maybe the volume is kind of like just going to go sideways here. So whatever it decides to do, I don't know how low it's going to have to go. Right? Nobody knows how low a stock will have to go. Does it have to go touch the 0.236 here? Maybe, maybe not. Does it have to touch the 20-month moving average here around 1.4, 1.5? Maybe, maybe not, right? We don't know how far it's going to go. All I know is that it's just cooling off this big move over here. This is wave 2, and I think it's pretty decent chance in terms of risk-reward ratio here to get some pretty decent deal here, right? It could have just found support right here in the Kijun, at the red line over there, and that this could be it. This is actually a very beautiful way for it to bounce up and go higher, right? So I think that right now the risk-reward ratio is still pretty decent because of the setup, right? Higher high form higher low. How low the higher low gets, I don't think anybody really knows, but I think it's a pretty decent setup for BARC moving forward. And I think eventually it's going to push for the 0.32 and go to higher levels. That's BARC here. Some other stocks. Somebody asked about OKLO. OKLO has just absolutely been going insane, right? Let's look at some fit levels here for OKLO. If you do the high here to the low there, you can see how initially it was kind of having a hard time getting about the 1.236, and it just pushed through all these fit levels here like it's butter. So where is it going to go? Probably going to 2.272. This is how insane I think this chart is going to get. The issue with this stock, the issue with that stock is that it's way outside the upper Bollinger Band, right? So I don't know what to make of this in terms of where it's going to exactly go next. The impulsivity tells me maybe 2.272, but we are overextended. There's no doubt. Like, we're not even touching the upper Bollinger Band. So maybe some sideways action here before further bullish continuation here. But I cannot argue with the fact that the lower Bollinger Band is like all the way down to the ground still. So this is still a very, very impulsive bull trend. I don't want to get in the way of it. I just think that it could use some cooling down here. And do I want to chase this? No, I don't want to chase this. But if I was holding it, I'll keep holding it through, because I understand that there's great volatility that can happen, that can shock a lot of people. Plus or minus like 30% can happen at any time, especially when things are just overshot about the upper Bollinger Band like that on the monthly. Just be prepared that the correction can happen anytime, but that would just be trying to form a higher low before further bullish continuation. That's what I think. A couple other ones here. I'm going to end the show. GDS Holding Limited. In terms of what I think, looking at the 20-month moving average, I think it's developing a very, very strong bull trend here for the month, right? This monthly candle is really trying to expand a Bollinger Band, so I think a very impulsive move is going to happen. It's going to probably end up continuing here for months. Now, if you ask me though, I think it is hitting some pretty important resistance, right? It is hitting very important Ichimoku cloud resistance over here. So don't get me wrong, even though the Bollinger Band has expanded, you might end up spending a couple of months underneath the monthly Ichimoku cloud here, which is still pretty thick, by the way, before pushing up a lot higher. But momentum's building, volume is building, so maybe sideways here for a little bit to kind of cool off this big giant move over here that's expanded Bollinger Band to the upside and to the downside. Maybe a little bit more sideways underneath the cloud over here. I can see that happening before further bullish continuation. But this is a very, very beautiful bull trend that's being built up here, so I'm not going to bet against it. With the exception that it's underneath the monthly Ichimoku cloud, which is something that it has to go through after going down straight for like 3 years in a row. You're going to hit into some Ichimoku cloud resistance, right? The thing that I do want to warn about the Ichimoku cloud, what's the worst case scenario? What is the worst case scenario when it does that? I'll give you the worst case scenario. Clean spark. Going down for 2 years straight, hitting the cloud, couldn't get through the cloud for a year. So be gentle with this, but I think the trend is just kind of starting to be more accelerating, whereas when Clean Spark got up there, it actually looks a little bit tired. So I think maybe a couple of months sideways and then push through. That's what I think. All right. Finally, UL. Well, two other ones. UL, I think, is pushing through. I think it's back testing potentially the monthly Ichimoku cloud over here around $53. That could be where it's going to go next. We'll see. I think that there is enough reason to think that price doesn't have to go down that much further anymore, because it's also holding the 0.618, and I think there's a good chance where we might close the month about the 0.618, and this could be it. It's kind of like AMD, it doesn't necessarily have to touch the cloud. You also have the 20-month moving average that is already back tested already. All this is happening on not much volume here at all. So I think all it takes just a little bit of volume for it to kind of push up a lot higher over time. I think this is going to be a very, very good zone for to get into UL if you believe in the stock, because that's a very good higher low. That's what I think. And finally, PSQ Holdings. I just don't see this being convincingly bullish quite just yet, because 20-month moving average is still negative sloping. It just got rejected over here in December, right? Right now it's building up more energy. I think there's not much volume over here. I think eventually you're going to end up having a big candle that's going to be bullish engulfing. That's going to challenge the 20-month moving average. We're going to see how it reacts from that. But so far the setup is very, really decent here to potentially break through. There are two forces. One is a very negative sloping 20-minute moving average that's going to reject everything. The other one, the other force is very powerful. Is a big giant green volume candle over here with so far a very pathetic bear action. There's not much volume here. on the downtrend. All of these are being engulfed by this candle over here. All these are inside candles. So we'll see whether or not we've got enough energy kind of build up to really push above the 20 moving average, claim it from support, turn it flat before going up higher. I don't think we're ready yet. I think it's trying to figure out its technicals, but we'll see. Even if you look at the Ichimoku, like Tenkan is still resistance, right? Even if you look at the weekly here, it broke through into the Ichimoku cloud, but got rejected here in Tenkan and Kitchen, and it fell out of the cloud. So maybe we need a little bit more time here before we figure things out. But we're on support bands trying to hold, but right now you're kind of stuck in range. It's building up energy. We'll see which way it goes. I don't see a good enough setup yet for me to feel very bullish on it. But the bull support band is telling us that, hey, maybe you're going to have a greater trend change here. We'll see whether or not this green candle here that flipped the bull support band from negative sloping to positive sloping will hold, right? This is a very important point that it needs to make some decisions here. If it holds, then further bullish continuation. If it doesn't, then this is just a little bit of like a false breakout, if you will. So anyway, thanks so much for listening to all these chart requests here. Have a good one. Bye.